Hello and welcome back to yet another episode of NOS Live here on youtube.com/nerdsonsite. The time is the same, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every single Wednesday night. Make sure you're here checking it out live. You can join in the chat. You can have a great time with us. And speaking of us, we have a fantastic panel today. Let me tell you, audience, we have joining us Elyse, Charlie, John, and David, and of course myself, as always, your host, Will. Now, let me tell you, audience, for those of you who have caught the last couple of episodes, we've been discussing a lot of the goings-on in the news today, and we're going to be jumping into something that's been a little bit, well, it's a sensitive subject, you know, and I think David's going to sort of start us off with leading into the discussion here, and we're just going to dive right in. So, David, take us away.
All right. Well, we have, not surprisingly, the last couple of weeks we talked about surveillance capitalism and one particular company that did a phenomenal job of capitalizing on surveillance and what that means, right? But let's talk about today about how that changes when we have things like, are you seeing my Verge article on the AI startup? You are?
We are.
Okay. For some reason, the little or the green thing around it is not showing anymore. So I can't tell what's as a confirmation of what's being shared. But this is really, really phenomenal. It's not that we were completely unaware that this has been happening, but there is now so much technology. There is now so much imagery. There are so many video feeds that we actually need artificial intelligence that specialize in this idea of real-time surveillance to help make some signal out of all the noise. And this is particularly relevant because this particular company called SenseTime is now the world's most highly valued AI or artificial intelligence company. So what does the panel think about all of this? What's going on here?
Well, why don't we start with Mark Zuckerberg and what he thinks? There's a great expression that I've used for decades now. The spoken word can lift and lead, but only the written word rules. All of our social code, civil code, and legal code comes from about 7 major religious texts. Almost 85% of it can be traced right back to those texts. The written word rules. And social media today is an explosion of all types of media, but right now, hate speech, for instance, Zuckerberg's comment today in front of Congress was, we're 5 to 10 years away from AI helping us discern between just that gray hate and not hate speech. Now, I would imagine he spent a little bit of time in the AI field. I think Elon Musk, most of us know exactly who that dynamo is, and he has very serious reservations about what is taking place with AI. I believe that the next written word is code, software. And if we move to the stage where AI becomes the author of software code, we're moving into an arena where all control systems from the human perspective are lost, and not just in the short term, but long term. And that, I believe, is one of Elon Musk's true concerns as well. This is not a little thing. This is a major league step on behalf of civilization. And we need to be wary, very wary of this. But that's just me.
Well, I hate to say you're right, Charlie. You know that it's much better if I can say you're wrong. But apparently, Google's already doing this, right? So they can already create better machine learning than the researchers themselves. Meaning that we already have machines that write code for machines that write code for machines.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm not sure where that stops. But yeah, no, this is real. This is very real. It's very early stages. But once we have enough of a framework of what we're working with, right? The big thing now is working with images and video, and right, and hence that SenseTime valuation of a company is working through that because we have so much of it, right? And so much of the machine learning that is gaining so much traction is based on the fact that we're able to feed it so much existing data. But we still haven't done a whole lot of real innovation in the area of what we can't feed it for learning, right? So there's some naysayers out there say that it's really not artificial intelligence yet. It's just very massive analysis of what we already have, right? But what I did find very interesting is, I don't know if any of you watched the documentary. It was a tip from one of our earlier episodes. The documentary on the Google company that built the Go artificial intelligence player, right, and beat the world's Go champion. That was a fascinating documentary on AI. Yeah.
I have to agree with you guys. Just the
Oh, John, you got to unplug your headphone and plug it back in. It's one of those scenarios. But whatever John wants to say, we definitely. Oh, hey, there's John.
Speaking of artificial intelligence, the scary.
Yeah, that's how dumb it is still, right? Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, right. This is how smart we are. We can't even make headsets that work yet, but we're gonna give control.
Right.
I heard I heard that the Netflix algorithm that determines what shows to show you based on your viewing preferences, that Netflix algorithm came to life as Jeff Goldblum, looked like Jeff Goldblum, and announced that it was looking to destroy humanity based on what people were watching. And I heard this on a Seth Rogen comedy special, so I'm not sure if it's true or not, but if it is, that is
such a straight
really,
shooter.
really scary stuff.
Talk about citing your sources.
And Jeff Goldblum has that personality and voice that could just get a person thinking.
He is the Netflix algorithm.
Yeah.
Became it for a moment. As far as the people in China, I know this is a little off topic, but I have a quick solution for them. Am I allowed to share my screen?
You should be able to, yeah.
All right.
Of course.
This is basically what I would suggest. They go on Alibaba. They should be familiar with that site. And they can buy these masks for 80 cents a piece.
Oh, dear.
If they're concerned about their privacy.
It's a well-known fact. If you hide behind a mask, anything is possible. Batman taught us that. Now,
if Chinese AI can determine who you are behind that mask, then they're definitely ahead of the curve.
Exactly. I would love to get Elyse. Can we get a little bit of your take on this whole situation? Like any aspect of it?
Well, yeah. Circling back to the innovation that has come out of China, I'm wondering what everyone thinks on where the true innovation for true AI, artificial intelligence, is going to come from, where it's going to come from in the future, given the controversies around surveillance in the U.S. And the challenges some private companies and governments face. Whereas China, the government has from what I've read, government has a significant budget for dealing or for managing or building out these kinds of tools to manage society.
Oh, Elyse, you had to open up that can of worms, didn't you?
Sorry.
No, that's a good one. But when you take a look at the development that's going on with the Silk Road right now, the reason China is so successful in building the Silk Road and all the infrastructure around it is because they don't have the same reservation about building partnerships with nation states that are rogue. They'll go ahead and do whatever is necessary to, whereas there's some degree of ethics, I'd say, with our democratic approach to having responsible government. So I definitely have a fear that as a result, they will have more rapid advancements in certain area because they will have less of a force to slow them down, right?
I mean, it's one of those things where I think that's sort of the very nature of, any form of authoritarian leadership versus democracy. You spend so much time. Well, we spend so much time discussing amongst ourselves what we would like to have happen. You have to discuss everyone's opinion rather than the approach of forward, always forward.
The reason for Japan's huge phoenix rise from the ashes of the Second World War was national will. It was a secret ministry, but they determined exactly what they would focus on for the next decade. And what did they do? They championed. They became the #1 provider in iron, in steel. What they didn't have on their island was iron ore. Then woven fabric. They had no sheep. Then automotive. And we're talking about a little island. The difference today on the ethical front when we discuss democracy versus authoritarianism is a very slippery slope in today's specific environment, where ethics don't seem to play a role at the very top level in decision making and discernment and communication. Where, you'll notice we're shouting all the time from the North American space, a little south of us, but there isn't a lot of shouting coming back from other places. If you take a look at China, spend some time there, they've got 18,000+ miles of high-speed rail. Spain is second with 1,250. Like, they have a quality of life that is so vastly leapfrogging today's standard growth dynamic. We get just snippets, or we look at GDP, we look at a number of other metrics that don't actually tell you the truth about the quality of life that people are experiencing. And when it comes to leadership, they know what to expect because they get it straight, and it's always all the way down the line worded the same way. Not saying that, the ones that ours is worse. I'm just saying that there are merits that people are not taking a look at. And when it comes to that kind of population base and economic power base, we need to start paying attention to the power of a distilled, focused mind. And I don't believe much can get in the way of it.
It's frightening. It's frightening. I don't know if any of you know about the Turing test. The Turing test, of course, is the famous way that Alan Turing decided that would be determined whether computers are really smart is when there's no more differentiation between whether it's a human or a computer, right? And so one of the recent comments that I read somewhere online was that I'm not so concerned about whether AI passes the Turing test. I'm more concerned about whether AI purposefully chooses not to pass the Turing test.
Oh, now that is a thought to really sink into your mind. And audience, I want to hear your opinions on this. What is your shot of this entire concept? How do you approach what is your Turing test? How do you view the how do you view this changing landscape? It's something. If you have a thought, put it in the comments below the video or let us know in the chat. We would love to hear your opinions on this subject.
Yeah. My youngest son thinks that I should just have Siri drive the car. Daddy, can't Siri drive the car? Like, we are actually setting up our kids for that expectation that they've already passed the Turing test, right?
Yeah. Maybe they. Go ahead.
I was going to say, David, you've been careful to make certain your children are not engrossed and immersed in technology as so many other kids are today.
But I try. And yet, so many young children today refer to technology instead of asking for parents, right? In our generation, mom and dad knew a lot, well, for a certain period of time. And at some point, the teachers knew a lot.
And certain parents.
Yes, right. Well, yeah, that's for sure.
For a certain period, they're the singular mind and singular focus. So as with every topic we discuss on this show, we could go for a very long time, and perhaps we will, in a future episode, discuss this a little bit further. It is a subject that has a lot of moving parts and something that we really need to dive into very deeply. So once again, chat room, if you have some thoughts, opinions, let us know down below. We would love to see your thoughts. And to share the love in return, we have a recurring thing this week. We're going to provide you with a new tip of the week, courtesy of our very own David Redekop.
I get asked regularly about how we do certain little video clips. And today I was asked twice. And so I thought, well, this is a perfect time for this tip. There is a really cool tool that everyone should own if you have an idea you want to convey to an audience. And it might only be an audience of one, but that person's time is so valuable that you want to pack high quality information in a short period of time. I do this all the time for certain clients that need something very personalized. I'll literally do a screen flow recording. It records my face on the camera. It records good quality audio, so you have a good microphone. It records the screen, and it might even record my iPhone screen. And then they're all separate tracks, and then you can very quickly produce a final video that you can then post on YouTube as an unlisted video and send them a link. And with one click, they see your production, and your production only takes, minutes longer than your actual recording. So if you haven't yet, it's not cheap. It is $129. That's US, from the US iTunes store. I'm not sure what it is in Canadian iTunes store, but it's very, very well worth $129 given what it does. So that's my tip of the week.
That's a good tip. I mean, if I had an Apple device myself, I think I'd probably have to snap that up. I'd just leave you guys to end the show, and I'd just, pick it up myself.
All right, goodbye, Will.
We're gone. So with that being said, it's time for the most exciting part of the show for the audience, the prize draw. So the prize for this week, David, let them know a little bit about the prize while I get the winners ready from our hat.
I feel like I'm dominating too much this week. I'm sorry, guys. But DNS Thingy is a very cool piece of software that runs on a router, and the draw is for someone to get a $135 coupon, and that way you can choose any router on our site. So that's what the reward is, and so back to you, Will.
What a fantastic prize it is. And we have a random draw based on the winners in the boat here, or sorry, in the chat room here. And
Steven tripped you up, did he?
He did
his boat comment.
I just read it there. Speaking of which, before we read this, I just want to share what Lucas Atem in the chat posted. He said, regarding our subject matter of discussion today, he said, I think it's something that was bound to happen. You can show the world the many opportunities they have, but you can't make them stay only on what you think that they should. Essentially, you can, I think his comment speaks for itself. I won't bother paraphrasing it. So let's see here. I'm just going to plug the names into our
random number generator. Is it pseudo-random or is it really random?
I sure hope it's really random.
Are you having us powered by one of those lava lamp walls?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Get true randomness.
Yes? Absolutely. That's the only way to do it. And the winner is Stephen Van Weaverwick. So, Stephen, make sure to contact us after the show. Let us know about first off, we'd love to hear more about your opinions on the subject matter, and we'll be discussing the finalization of the prize. So, congratulations to Stephen. Well done. Well done to you, sir. All right. And with that being said, we have already gone over our time. So, from myself, Elyse, Charlie, John, and David, we say thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next week. Have a great night.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.